My name is Evan Haworth, and I live in Moab, Utah, which is surrounded by Arches National Park and Canyonlands National Park. Sits right next to the Colorado River. I play the Native American flute, and I enjoy going into the canyons and sharing my music and transforming the thoughts of people as they're exploring these canyons. Well, it's like when you're walking through the canyon, a lot of people that come through this area, they're on vacation. They want to see the national parks and they want to see the arches and the red rock. And I see them walking through the canyon, and they're physically there, but mentally they're still in the office. And it's kind of interesting when I'm up on the hill and I'm hiding behind a rock and I see these people walking, and I know they're not paying attention to where they are, and I start playing the flute. If I can hear them, I know they can hear me. And within one or two notes, get people to stop and look at each other and say, "Did you hear that?" And then they walk again. And it's just, to me, it's a game. And the flute has a tendency to bring up a primal emotion that's so deep within our psyche that we don't even see it anymore, because the society is so kept us so busy that we don't get to see that primal emotion. When I start playing songs, one note, two notes at a time, and what's that? What's that? And by the time they get close enough to me, they know where they're at. Consciously, they are in the canyon, and they're seeing the magic that there is there, and they're out of the office, and they're on a true vacation. I lost my sister to cancer in 1989. She was 26 years old. She left a 3-year-old. And to me, that made no sense whatsoever. And so any faith base that I had was out the window. It made no sense. And so I went on a quest. I went on my own way to find my own answers. And I came down to this area and was out in the desert with a friend of mine, and we were walking around. I was walking around, and when I came back to the trailer, I heard the sound of a flute, and it was coming from the radio that he was playing. Now, when I talk about a primal emotion, that's when I first felt my primal emotion. Then once I understood that primal emotion, I was starting to understand my other emotions, my other feelings. And that helped me work through the passing of my sister. I still didn't really know exactly what to do with my life at that time, but my father had started a print shop for her and to keep her busy in between chemotherapies. Well, after she passed, I took the responsibility on myself to take over the family business until her son was old enough to make his adult choice to say yes or no. I did that for 20 years. And throughout that 20 years, everything started falling back into place from that one time I heard the flute. I got to meet the flute player that was playing the music that I heard that morning, and he actually told me that my flutes were coming and they would sing for me. And I've picked up flutes, tried to play them, and they'd squeak and squawk, and I guess I just needed that encouragement from that one man. Ironically enough, it was 1 year to the day that he told me that I'd have my flute, that when I received my first flute. And the main advice they told me is control my breath, control my flute. As you're learning to play a new instrument, you come to the realization that everybody in the neighborhood can hear you, whether you're good or whether you're not. So I decided I was going to take the flute up in the mountains one day, and I took it up there, and I waited until I was alone and everybody had left, and I started playing the flute. I was just playing it, sitting on a picnic table, and I heard something behind me, and I kept playing. I got embarrassed because I thought somebody was standing behind me. And it was actually a moose. By the time I turned around and looked over my shoulder, it was a big bull moose about 10, 12 feet away from me in full rut, and scared me to death. And all I could think about was control your breath, control the flute. Control the breath, control the flute. So the moose actually taught me how to breathe. His name was Charlie. While I was working the print shop, I had this customer, an elderly lady, and she'd come in once a week and have work done on her personal history. We actually became really good friends. And she'd come in and she'd ask me to play the flute for her every once in a while. And then one day, this strange lady come in. I'd never seen her before, and she introduced herself to me as this woman's daughter, and that this woman was in her deathbed. And she thought that if she could come down and ask me to go play the flute for her. And so I did as a friend. I just did it as a friend for me to say goodbye. So I went over there and started playing, and the music just started happening. This song just started coming through me, and it was just, when I got home, I went to bed, and I had a dream about her. It was kind of strange. I had a dream about her, and she told me, she says, this hospice is where you need to be. And so I woke up, and she had passed on 4 hours after I'd left. So I took that to heart, and I took my flute into hospice care. And I helped them during the act of dying. And that's pure magic. It takes away the fear of the unknown. The flute can take away the fear of death and make people feel at ease and be able to let go. And there's been many times when I'd walk into the hospice room and the family members are there. And it's a really strange time for emotionally. And so sometimes there's hostility, and sometimes there's so much grief. And as a patient's point of view, that's hard to let go. That's hard to let go when your loved ones are feeling that. So I'd walk into the hospice room with my flutes and my toys and all these little percussion instruments that I have, and I'd start handing them to the family members. And starting off with a rain stick, and they look at the rain stick and they start moving it and making the noise. And then all of a sudden the percussion, they start clinging on the percussion. You just hand them the instruments to deal with the grief, and they become my muse. The family emotion is what I take within myself, and I translate that emotion into the music with what they're creating. I'm just adding the melody. They're the ones creating the magic. And it helps the patient pass on. And it creates an awesome memory for them. It's theirs for me to share. And that's my way of carrying on their memory of who they are. When I first started hospice, the lady that was training me gave us a piece of paper and some crayons and asked us to draw a picture of our perception of death. And I was looking at everybody else, and they were doing the skies and the sun rays and the clouds. And well, she came to me, and I had a box with a ribbon on it. And she says, "Could you explain this to me?" And I says, "Well, life is a gift. It's full of unknowns. You know, when you're 2 years old and Christmas morning, and you come running down them steps and you see that box and it's got your name on it, are you scared to open it? You don't know what's inside of it. It's unknown. It's unknown to you. Are you scared to open it? No, you're full of anticipation. You've been anticipating this day for months. Well, you know, life and death is the same thing. And, you know, we don't know what's on the other side, to be honest with you. I don't think anybody knows what's on the other side. And that's what makes it so special. And there's two emotions in life that get confused with just circumstances in life itself. And that's anticipation and fear. Your body reacts to it in the same way. You sweat, you shake. But as we grow older, that anticipation is now translated into fear. And so by the time we hit our deathbed, we don't understand that we're anticipating something we've been anticipating our whole life, because we now understand that emotion as fear. And to understand that anticipation is not fear. And to know that what's in that box is a gift. Peace is a state of mind. It's a state of perception. And that's a self-perception. That is not taking offense to what people say with an open heart. Being truthful with their emotions and understanding the emotions. You know, like I said earlier, you know, once you recognize that primal emotion, then you can start naming every other emotion, and within time, once you name those emotions, you have control over those emotions. The way that I achieve peace in my own life is sharing those emotions. To cope with today's society, we need to actually learn to take the time to slow down. The phrase, you know, slow down and smell the roses. You need to inhale the essence of nature and then share it. You know, you find a flower that smells good, grab somebody and bring them over and make them smell it, you know, because it's there. It's there for everybody. It doesn't belong to anybody. It's there for everybody. So what I would say to the world as far as finding peace, live right now. You can't fix what happened a minute ago, and you can't change what's going to happen. So live now, and unconditionally. And these canyons used to be filled with the sounds of flutes. I want to bring that back in one sense or another.